Dear students, rearrangement of carbocations is not a new term to you. In this module, we shall be discussing about the common carbocation rearrangements with a revision of what you have studied as the elementary knowledge, and then we will also see how the rearrangement takes place in the non-classical carbocation case like Norbornyl cation. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the carbocation rearrangements. You shall know how the rearrangements involve the 1,2 hydride shift or the 1,2 alkyl or aryl shift. You shall know about the Norbornyl system, learn about the Norbornyl cation and identify how the Norbornyl cation works and rearrangement happen in such a system. And you shall be able to understand the concept of non-classical carbocation through this example. That is, if we say the chemistry of carbocation, which are also called as carbonium ions, they have been extensively studied and many outstanding organic chemists have largely enriched and developed this field. The term carbonium ion is more appropriate as suggested by G. A. Ola. So, in this module, we will study about the carbocation intermediates and their rearrangements. Let us begin with understanding the carbocation rearrangements. In a rearrangement, as the name suggests, a group moves from one atom to another in the same molecule. Most are migrations between adjacent atoms and are called as 1,2 shifts. The carbocation rearrangements, they occur more frequently on secondary carbocations to form tertiary, which are more stable and energetically more favorable. And in general, it will be always a more stable carbocation which will be formed, and we will be going into details of this. Simple alkyl primary carbocations are too high in energy to form, so you do not tend to see a primary carbocation very commonly. There are some exceptions to this general rule for primary carbocations as well. Certain structural conditions such as being benzylic or allylic due to resonance allows for the formation of primary carbocations. Tertiary carbocations do not need to rearrange as they are already the most stable. In general, the bonding electrons of a carbocation may shift between adjacent atoms to form a more stable carbocation. If a secondary carbocation is vicinal to a tertiary carbon bearing a hydrogen, a 1,2 hydride shift should occur. If a secondary carbocation is vicinal to a quaternary carbon, then a 1,2 alkyl shift again must occur. The general rule in alkyl shift is the smaller alkyl substituent tend to be the substituent that shift in comparison with the larger alkyl substituent. But again we will see with many cases that the more better rule is that always out of the various possibilities a more stable carbocation will be the route which will be preferred by the molecule. So, as you can see here that here is shown there is a secondary carbocation and adjacent to is the vicinal tertiary carbon, and this particular hydrogen can migrate to this carbocation and thereby the carbocation rearrangement can happen from secondary leading to a tertiary carbocation. Similarly, if in this particular case the secondary carbocation is vicinal to a quaternary carbon atom and here one of these alkyls can shift here, and again this will lead to the formation of a more stable tertiary carbocation. There are two types of carbocation rearrangements, namely the 1,2 hydride shift and the 1,2 alkyl shift, and this you can see from these reactions being shown. In the first reaction you can see this hydrogen is getting shifted as hydride and therefore this is the 1,2 hydride shift, and thereby you can see the new carbocation has formed at the adjacent carbon. So, this is the shift from 1 to the 2 position, and that is why it is the 1,2 shift, and because it is the hydride transferring, it is the 1,2 hydride shift. Similarly, in this second case, what you can see is here it is the methyl shift which is being shown, and this methyl group is shifting from this adjacent carbon to this carbocation, and as a result we are getting this rearranged carbocation. Now, if we try to look at the rules which will help you in deciding which direction you should take the carbocation rearrangements to go further is, first is that the carbocation rearrangements are equilibrium processes, and usually they lead to more stable carbocations out of the various possibilities. Sometimes it leads to carbocations of equal stability, but this is actually not so common. Sometimes it leads to less stable carbocations, and this situation is very unusual and rarely, or we can say it will be almost not happening. Hydride shift is more common and favorable than alkyl shift, but again this is overruled, that if you are having two situations where hydride shift and alkyl shift and one is giving you more stable carbocation, then even the alkyl shift will take place, giving you a more stable situation. The least bulky alkyl substituent shifts if we are considering the alkyl shift. So, for example, if you have methyl and butyl as the two possibilities, then out of these two the methyl will be shifting as a preference, and only the groups adjacent to carbocations can migrate, that is, it has to be a relative 1,2 position, otherwise the shift will not happen, and only carbon groups and hydrogen atoms can shift. 1,2 OH type of shift is forbidden. So, now let us go into the detail. Let us begin with the 1,2 hydride shift. If a carbocation is vicinal to a tertiary carbon bearing hydrogen atom, a 1,2 hydride shift will be most likely to occur, and let us understand this with the help of this interactive video. Let us understand how the 1,2 hydride shift takes place. Now, let us consider that we have this carbocation, and you can notice that this carbocation is primary in nature. Now, this carbon which is having this plus charge is electron deficient, as you are aware, and in the process the relative, if we say this is the one position, then this is the second position, and the substituents which are at second position, let us consider this hydrogen, these electrons between this carbon and hydrogen will be now attracted by this carbocation, and as a result it goes into the three-membered transition state, and ultimately this hydrogen will be shifted along with these two electrons, and that is why it is the hydride shift which takes place, and this will get attached to this carbon. So what we get as a result is, starting from this primary carbocation, now we have got a secondary carbocation which you are aware is more stable, and you can notice that this hydrogen has shifted at this place, and it is relatively from 2 to 1 position. So you can see the relative positioning, it is 1 and 2, and that is why it is called as the 1,2 hydride shift. It is the shift of hydride, that is H along with these two electrons, and from relatively 1 to 2 position it will be the 1,2 hydride shift. The hydride shift would occur more readily than the alkyl shift, but there can be exceptions to this. So how to deal with? Let us go further. For nucleophilic substance, the pattern of bonds that form and break is pretty straightforward. You break the C with the leaving group and you form C with a nucleophile, a straight swap. But you might see a weird substitution reaction if you look closely at the pattern of bonds formed and bonds broken in this second reaction as shown here. There is an extra set. So what you can notice here, This first example is showing you a normal substitution reaction where this Br has been replaced by OH just where it was originally. That is, the C2 with the Br bond is breaking and the C2 with the OH bond is getting formed. But if you notice this particular reaction, which is second one here, that in this case the Br is at the same position where we had started in the earlier reaction also, but the product, you now notice the difference, the OH is not just in place of Br, but it is at the adjacent carbon. So here it is the C2 with the Br bond which is breaking, but it is the C3 with the OH bond which is getting formed. So this is clearly indicating that out of these two reactions, the first one is going without rearrangement and the second one is going with rearrangement. So this is a clue where you could see that yes, how you can identify where the rearrangement is happening or no. So this is one instance, but there can be so many other examples. So proceeding further, we can say in other words, it is a substitution reaction where the hydrogen has moved or rearrangement. As it turns out, the reaction that go through carbocations can sometime undergo rearrangement. Rather, we can say very often go into rearrangement. And looking back at substitution reactions, recall that you are already familiar that SN1 reaction goes through a carbocation intermediate in its first step, and the moment there is a carbocation formed, there will be a possibility of rearrangement. Carbocations, as you know, they contain 6 electrons and bear a positive charge. In other words, they are electron deficient. So it would make sense that carbocation becomes more stable as you increase the number of electron donating groups attached to them. Alkyl groups are a perfect example to stabilize them, and that is why the carbocation stability increases as you move from the primary to secondary to tertiary. That is, the tertiary is the most stable, then the secondary, then the primary. Carbocations with same substitution pattern can rearrangement if it results in a resonance stabilized carbocation. Like you can see here, there is a secondary carbocation shown and the adjacent position seems to be secondary, but actually it is allylic. So the moment this hydrogen moves as hydride to this adjacent carbocation, there will be formation of this allylic carbocation which is resonance stabilized. Carbocations which are stabilized by resonance allow the positive charge to be delocalized or spread out over a greater area on the molecule. And one rearrangement pathway where an unstable carbocation can be transformed into a more stable carbocation, that will be called as the hydride shift. Like you can see this hydride shift pathway, there is this secondary carbocation you can see. So this particular hydrogen, if it shifts from this C3 carbon to the C2 carbon, so relatively they are at 1 and 2 position. So as this hydrogen is attracted to this carbocation, there will be this transition state which is developed, and now this hydrogen has two routes, either it goes back, in that case it is leading to a secondary carbocation, but if it moves further to the C2 carbon, then obviously it is giving you a more stable tertiary carbocation, and that is how these shifts happen, because they are making this species, the carbocation, to move from less stable to a more stable carbocation, and in this case you can see the secondary carbocation is getting rearranged into a tertiary carbocation which is more stable. In this rearrangement reaction, the pair of electrons in the CH bond is transferred to the empty p orbital on the carbocation. In the transition state, or which is also called as the non-classical carbocation of this reaction, there is a partial CH bond on C3 and a partial CH bond on C2, as you can see here. The transition state here is a kind of like that split second in a relay race, where one sprinter is passed the baton to another sprinter and they both have their hands on it. So here the baton is hydrogen which is getting transferred from one carbon to another carbon. So then as the C2H bond shortens and the C3H bond weakens, we end up with a carbocation on C3, that is the tertiary carbocation in the product which is more stable. So let us consider some more examples of the allowed rearrangement reactions, and in them notice how we are always going from a less substituted carbocation to a more substituted carbocation. And one exception we will discuss, that the rearrangement is favorable because the new carbocation has increased stabilization. And some examples of the allowed hydrogen rearrangements to make more stable carbocations are shown here, that is primary going to secondary. So you can see here this initial is the primary carbocation, and as this hydride shift happens, we will be getting a secondary carbocation. Similarly, a primary can go to tertiary. Here you can see is the position where this hydride shift happens, it will lead to the tertiary carbocation, or you can have a secondary going into the tertiary carbocation, which is being depicted in this particular case. As this hydride shift happens to the adjacent carbocation, we will get this tertiary carbocation. Now considering this example of a reaction, let us start with this particular molecule where the Br is lost in the first step of say SN1 mechanism, and we get this carbocation. Now once this carbocation is formed, you can notice that the initially formed carbocation is the secondary carbocation, and nearby to that, that is in its vicinal position, the hydrogen, this particular hydrogen can shift here. So as this hydrogen gets shifted here, it will lead to the formation of this tertiary carbocation which is more stable. And after this, the nucleophilic attack will happen. So you can see the water will attack as a nucleophile on this C3 position. As a result, we get this, and from this there will be deprotonation, and we get the final product where the OH is at the third position. And notice, if you look at the starting molecule and the ending, the Br was initially at the C2 position, but in the substituted product the OH is at the C3 position, and so this is the rearranged product which has happened, which has taken place via the SN1 mechanism. After understanding the 1,2 hydride shift, let us try to understand the 1,2 alkyl shifts. If a carbocation is vicinal to a tertiary carbon, 1,2 alkyl shift should occur. You might note something with this example as shown here, that there is only possibility to form more stable tertiary carbocation if an alkyl group migrates. The most common situation where alkyl shifts can occur is when a quaternary carbon is adjacent to a secondary carbocation. So as you can see here, shown is the secondary carbocation at this position, and to the vicinal there is a quaternary carbon, and if this methyl shifts from this position to this position, then we will be getting a tertiary carbocation which is more stable. And notice that here it is the methyl shift, or in general an alkyl shift which is taking between the relative 1-2 positions. So it is the 1,2 alkyl shift. The pair of electrons from the CC bond can be donated into the empty p orbital on the carbocation, and this means they have to be aligned in the same plane. In the transition state, there are partial bonds between the carbon being transferred and each of the two adjacent carbon atoms, as you can see in this visual. Then as one bond shortens and the other lengthens, we end up with a more stable tertiary carbocation. So this is how the alkyl shift pathway happens, and it is very similar to the hydride shift, just that it is the entire methyl group which is shifting from relative 1 position of carbon to the relative 2 position of the carbon, and this 3-membered cyclic transition state is involved. Another thing you should keep, that what is the driving force is, because as I told you earlier, the carbocation being electron deficient, it will be actually attracting these electrons. It is not attracting the methyl, it is actually attracting these electrons between this carbon with this alkyl group, or similarly carbon with the H if it is the hydride shift. So, these two electrons, as they are attracted, they come in this orbital and you get this transition state, and further it gets rearranged and give you this particular rearranged carbocation which is in the more stable direction. Once a carbocation is formed, rearrangements can potentially occur at any time, and that includes most commonly the SN1 reaction. So, let us consider this SN1 reaction where the alkyl shift is happening. So, if we are beginning with this particular alkyl halide and at 2 position you have chloro, then in the first step the formation of this carbocation, which is secondary carbocation, will happen, which is the part of SN1 mechanism first step. And once you have the formation of this carbocation, which is secondary, note that at the adjacent position there is this quaternary carbon, which is the C3, and out of these 3 alkyl groups, these 3 methyl groups here, then this particular the 6th carbon as CH3 will be migrating from C3 to C2, and what we get is more stable tertiary carbocation. Further, the next step will be the nucleophilic attack on this rearranged carbocation, and this will be followed by deprotonation and give you the rearranged alcohol as the product. So, this is how the SN1 reaction via the alkyl shift is taking place, and again notice in the starting molecule the Cl was at C2 position, but in the final product the OH has come on the C3 position. So, clearly it is a rearranged product which is formed. Now, let us try to understand some more about the 1,2 alkyl shifts. If you are in confusion that whether it should be the hydride shift or it should be the alkyl shift which has to take place, then you should look at all possible routes. And once you have seen all possible routes, then what you have to do is, out of all these possible routes, whichever is giving you the more stable carbocation, then that particular shift will be taking place which route is giving the more stable carbocation. So, let us try to understand this with the help of an example. Suppose we have this carbocation, and now we want to see whether this hydride shift will take place, or alternatively this methyl shift will take place, or the hydride shift from this side will take place. So, if we carry out all of them one by one, what we find is, if we carry out this methyl shift here, then starting from the initial secondary, we will be still landing with the secondary carbocation. Now, if we consider this route, that is if we take this hydride and shift it here, then in that case, starting from secondary, once this hydride comes here, then it will be giving us the tertiary carbocation. And if we take this route, that is this hydride, we shift here, then what is going to happen is you are going to get a carbocation here, and notice that this will be in conjugation with double bond here, and this actually will be the allylic carbocation. So, this is the most stable one out of the possible secondary, the tertiary and allylic, and so the species which is this carbocation will undergo this rearrangement, that is the hydride shift from here, and not this alkyl shift and not this hydride shift, and as a result what you will be getting is a allylic carbocation, that is you get this. It does not always have to be a methyl group that moves. One interesting example is when a carbocation is formed adjacent to a strained ring, such as cyclobutane or cyclopropane, then it will go to a direction of the ring which is less strained. So, even larger alkyl groups can migrate. So, we can say even though methyl could potentially migrate in some cases, if there is a possibility of the ring getting less strained, then it will be the other alkyl groups which will be favored for the rearrangement. So, let us consider this particular example here. Now, let us try to understand that how the ring contraction can also be encountered while dealing with the carbocation rearrangement. And to understand this, let us consider this example. So, we have this 7-membered cyclic ring, and let us take these two methyls here and a chloro here. So, in the SN1 hydrolysis, when this chlorine is removed as the leaving group, then what we get is this carbocation. And you can notice that this is a 7-member cyclic ring and this is a secondary carbocation. So again, now if you look at the possibilities, there is one possibility that one of these two methyl shifts here, and let us try to do the methyl shift. So when we carry out this 1,2 methyl shift, what we get is, out of these two, one methyl comes here and the positive comes here. So this has moved from secondary to a tertiary carbocation at this carbon. You can see this is the tertiary carbocation, but still it is a 7-member cyclic ring. Now if we carry out this shift, that is these two electrons, that is this CH2 gets shifted to here, that is these bonds will be broken from here, and in turn there will be bond getting formed between these two carbons. So you can see here that, let me remove this here, what you get as a result is this positive charge will get shifted here. So let me make this, that is when you do this alkyl shift, then what we get is carbocation, which will be this, and you can clearly see that now this is a 6-member cyclic ring and the carbocation we have formed is tertiary. So out of these two situations, now clearly this one, which is a 6-member cyclic ring, is more stable, and furthermore after hydrolysis, and that is treatment with water followed by deprotonation, which this water will be attacking at this, the product that we get is the rearranged one, where the 7-member ring has contracted into 6-member ring. So we get this as the major product. So again, if you have to decide whether the ring contraction will take place or not, that is ring contraction or ring retention, how you have to decide? That if it is, you are having a cyclic ring and on the cyclic ring there is a positive charge, then these are the two possibilities, either ring contraction or ring retention. If you start with a 7-member cyclic ring, it will go into 6 because 6 is more stable. But if you start from 6, it will not contract and give you 5, because out of 5 and 6, the 6 is more stable. So 6 will be retaining into 6. Similarly, if you start with 5, 5 will not go into 4, 5 will remain into 5. So whether it is the ring expansion or contraction or retention, you can just look at what are the various possibilities and then which is the more stable ring, irrespective whether it is the hydride shift or it is the alkyl shift or it is the methyl shift, whatever is taking place, you just carry out all of these possibilities, and whichever way there is more stable ring which is formed, that is going to be the preferred route taken by the rearrangement of that carbocation. So let us try to understand how this substituted cyclobutane is going into rearrangement. So starting from this molecule, notice that the Cl is here, and when it goes into loss of this group, that is removal of Cl minus, and obviously this is the SN1 reaction we are considering, where we are trying to do hydrolysis. So in the presence of OH minus, the Cl minus goes, and as a result what we get is this carbocation. And you can notice that this is a secondary carbocation. And if you look at the adjacent, that is at the relative 1,2 position, this carbon is joined to this methyl group here, and you can see there is another alkyl group here. You can see this is the CH2 here, and there is another alkyl group which is here, which is this CH2. So now what this carbocation can attract all these electrons, that is either these ones, whereby this methyl shift can happen. So let us try to see what will happen when we do the methyl shift. Now as we do the methyl shift, then you can see that this bond will be breaking and it will get joined here, and as a result we get, so you can clearly see that this methyl from here has moved here, and as a result this carbocation has shifted from this to this position. And yes, from secondary we have got this tertiary carbocation, and definitely it is more stable. But let us look at other options also. Now if we take that these two electrons shift here, whether we take these two or these two, here in this case it will be same thing. So if we take that these two electrons are getting attracted, and as a result this entire alkyl group is getting migrated here. So you can notice that there will be new carbon-carbon bond formed here, and this will be dropped. So what is going to happen is we will be getting this species, and let me draw it in the same way. That is, we had all these bonds, and here is the methyl group, and there was a bond here, so I have removed this, and this let me join to this particular position. So this initial bond which was here has now shifted to this, and what we get is this. And as a result, the carbocation which was at this position will now come to this carbon, that is, it will be coming here. And this can be properly rewritten in this form, where you can notice that this methyl which is here, and relatively to the adjacent position we have this methyl, and this carbocation is at this position. So this is again a tertiary carbocation. So in both the cases we are getting tertiary carbocation, but you can clearly see this is a tertiary carbocation where there is a 4-member cyclic ring, and here is a tertiary carbocation which is in the 5-member cyclic ring, and clearly this is more stability, and that's why this molecule and this intermediate carbocation will be further going into rearrangement in this direction, that is the formation of 5-member cyclic carbocation. And furthermore, when this is reacted by the nucleophile, which is water or OH minus, then this water will be attacking at this position and followed by deprotonation. So what we get, the product is this 5-membered alcohol. So here the OH will be joining. So you can notice that this is what is the major product that will be formed after this SN1 reaction takes place, where there is a alkyl shift, that is this CH2, CH2, this entire group is shifting and not the methyl shift, because methyl shift would have given only a 4-membered cyclic ring as for the product, but this is now giving a more stable ring system, which is the 5-membered ring system. Now let us consider another case, and suppose we start with a 6-member cyclic ring and we have a similar framework, that is, we have Cl here, and just to differentiate, let us put a methyl here. Now as we subject it to SN1 hydrolysis, then this Cl will be lost, and as a result what we get is this carbocation. So as a result of the SN1 hydrolysis, what we have is removal of this Cl, and we get this carbocation. And you can notice that this is a secondary carbocation that we have obtained. And again, as earlier, there are two possibilities. One is that this methyl shift happens, and let us see what is the rearrangement via this methyl shift. So as this methyl shift happens, then what we will be getting is this carbocation, and from secondary we have got a tertiary carbocation, and this tertiary carbocation is in a 6-membered cyclic ring. Now alternatively, if we carry out this alkyl shift as we have done earlier, that is, we will be breaking this bond from here and joining it from here, then what we are getting is we will be getting a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7-member cyclic ring. That is, if we try writing the structure, what we get is, so if we do the numbering again to see from where the bond has broken and where it has formed, it will be very clear now in this. So initially there was a bond between this 2 and 7 carbon, as you can see here, and now it has shifted from between 1 and 7 carbon. And you can notice that this will be having the positive charge at this carbon. So this is also a tertiary carbocation that we have obtained. But this tertiary carbocation is in a 7-member cyclic ring, and obviously out of 6 and 7-member cyclic ring, you are aware that it is the 6-member cyclic ring which is more stable. So that is why the molecule will be taking this route, that is, the rearrangement will happen in the direction of methyl shift and not this bigger alkyl shift. So this is not going to happen, and rather it is the methyl shift which is going to happen, and further product, when it is attacked by water followed by deprotonation, it will be eventually giving us this 6-membered product where the OH will be attached at this position where the carbocation was there. So this is again SN1 reaction where there is a rearrangement happening, but this time again you can see this is alkyl shift is not happening, but it is the methyl shift. So what you can say is that if you have to decide whether alkyl shift or hydride shift or methyl shift which has to take place, it is that route where it is going to give you the most stable next intermediate. So what we can say is that whenever you have a cyclic ring and immediately outside there is a carbocation, there can be two cases. Either you have retention of the ring, retention of the size of ring, or you can have the ring expansion. Now where the ring expansion will happen, where retention will happen, will depend upon the stability. So whether you have to do simply a hydride or a alkyl shift here, or you have to do the alkyl shift from the ring for expansion, it will be decided by the out of the two possibilities which is the most stable. So suppose you are starting from 4, it will go to 5. If you start from 5, it will go to 6. But if you are Starting from 6, it will remain 6 and it will not go to 7 ring. So that's how you can see that it is always going to go in the more stable layer. So when you see 4 to 5, it is the ring expansion case. 5 to 6 is the ring expansion case, but 6 to 6 it is the retention of the size of the ring that will be happening, and 6 to 7 will not happen. You can see there is a cyclobutane ring, and at this C3 carbon there is this methyl group attached, and at C2 you have the Cl. So in the first step, as this Cl goes out, we get this carbocation, and now there are two possibilities, that either the electrons between C3 and C4 bond migrate. In that case, it will lead to formation of tertiary as well as a 5-membered cyclic ring. On the other hand, if we would have migrated this methyl group at C3 position, it would have although given us a tertiary carbocation, but that would have been a 4-member ring. So still the strain would have been there. So that is how that will not be the preferred route, but now the preferred route will be where this alkyl shift has happened, which is this bigger alkyl group and not the methyl shift, and it is giving you a more stable 5-membered cyclic ring. Furthermore, it will be followed by the nucleophilic attack of water and followed by deprotonation, and the product that we will be getting is a 5-membered cyclic substituted alcohol, which is as shown here. And again notice that clearly this reaction is showing the case of rearrangement. So after understanding the basic required information for doing the rearrangements, that is the 1,2 hydride shift how it happens or the 1,2 alkyl shift how it happens, let us move to Norbornyl systems. Norbornane, as you are aware, is an organic compound and its chemical formula is C7H12. Its IUPAC name is 2,2,1-heptane. It is a 1,4 bridged bicyclohydrocarbon. The Norbornane molecule possesses a rigid structure with uncommon steric characteristics. Carbon atom 1,6 constitute a cyclohexane structure in the higher energy board conformations. Moreover, the 7-methylene group not only looks this ring system into a rigid board conformation, but the constraint so produced accentuates the steric crowding within the board structure. Much of the chemistry of Norbornane is dominated by the far greater steric accessibility of the exo as compared to the endo position. So you can see in this structure of Norbornane, these two substituents are shown here as hydrogens only to depict the exo and endo position. So this is the exo bond and this is the endo bond. For example, in many radical substituent reactions, out of the exo and endo, it is the exo product which is produced preferentially. So there is too much which needs to be seen in context of exo and endo positioning while we are understanding the reactions of Norbornane. Now let us move to the Norbornyl cation. Many naturally occurring terpenes are derivatives of Norbornane. Molecular arrangements are common among these bicyclic terpenes. Winston and Roberts in 1950 actively pursued the mechanism of the rearrangements and associated the stereochemical problems using the basic Norbornyl systems. Let us consider first of all the acetylysis of two Norbornyl brosylates. Each of the isomeric brosylate as shown as 1 and 2 here is prepared and subjected to acetylysis, that is solvolysis using acetic acid as solvent and as a nucleophile. So what we find here is as shown here in these two equations, that this first one you are having the OBS which is at exo position, and in the second the OBS, the brosylate group, is at the endo position. And if we look at the observations regarding this reaction, the rate of solvolysis of 1:2 is about 400 times. Both 1 and 2, they give the third product, which is, you can see it is same as major product, which is where the OAC is at the exo position, irrespective whether we are starting with the exo or endo-brosylate. Optically active exo-brosylate, which is 1, gives third, which is a racemic mixture. So, you can notice that it will be the racemic mixture which will be obtained for this third. The recovered brosylate 1 is also racemic, although we had started with only one enantiomeric pure form. The rate of racemization, that is the measured from specific rotation, is greater than solvolysis in the case of exo isomer. Another thing to notice is that the rate of racemization is equal to the rate of solvolysis in the case of endo isomer, and these two facts you can consider for comparison. The solvolysis rate of endo-brosylate is nearly equal to that of the cyclohexyl brosylate, and another thing to notice is the relative rate of 1 to cyclopentyl brosylate is 13. So, what interpretations we can make from this is, a satisfactory explanation for these observations is needed and also identify the nature of the intermediate Norbornyl carbocation and its reactivity. Beginning 1950 and till 1980, the topic became one of the very important area in theoretical organic chemistry. A new concept has been evolved, namely the non-classical carbocation, the non-classical resonance, the sigma bridged Norbornyl cation. The researchers have raised healthy debates and also evolved great controversies in this context. So, let us continue our study further by understanding how the acetylysis of 2-exo and 2-endo Norbornyl brosylates is actually happening. So, as you can see here in this visual, the starting from 1 where the OBS is at the exo position, in a very fast mechanism, in this step it will undergo ionization, there will be removal of OBS minus and the formation of carbocation at the same position. Until now they are very close, so this is the ion pair, they are not yet detached totally. On the other hand, if we start from third, that is where the OBS, the brosylate group, is at the endo position, then this is a very slow conversion from endo to this ion pair formation. Now, furthermore, this will undergo detachment and we get a proper carbocation at this position. So, you can see this C intermediate getting formed, which is the carbocation, and this carbocation is then attacked by OAC minus, which attacks as a nucleophile, and the attack will be happening from less sterically hindered position, that is it will be attacking from the exo position and not from the ring side to give you the endo product, and that is the reason why whether you start with endo or exo brosylate, the product predominantly is the exo with OAC in the exo position. Now, coming back to this ion pair, it can further rearrange. You can notice that if this alkyl shift happens between this first and sixth position, if these two electrons they come and get attracted, you can see it is the nearby 1-2 shift happening, and it will give us this second ion pair, which is the rearrangement one, and this also can be further attacked with OBS at this first position, and this, if we rewrite this, is what is the product F, which is obtained in minor amounts. Another thing you can notice is that from this ion pair E, the OBS minus gets detached and we get this proper carbocation at the first position, that is at the C1, and now this can be attacked by OAC minus as the nucleophile at C1, and this after writing it properly, what you can see is this is the I product which is formed. So, that is how we can justify all of the products which are there as major or minor, but let me again tell you that it is irrespective whether we start from exo or endobrosylate, the major product is the exo OAC substituent, because you can see that both ultimately are going via the same intermediate. So, we can quickly say that these are the various changes which are happening. A to B to C to D is the acetolysis with retention of configuration. The Norbornyl cation C is attached by acetate ion from the exo phase which is preferred. B to E is the ion pair rearranging to another one where C1 to C6 bond migration to C2 is happening. A to B to E to G or H is the acetolysis of A with rearrangement. D and I are the plus and the minus forms of the acetate, that is the mirror image. J to B is the slow ionization of endobrosylate, that is the C1H and the C1C6 bonds hinder ionization, and no such hindrance exists with A. B to A is ion pair return and E to F is the rearranged ion pair E return. A and F are enantiomers and hence racemic. There are two proposals to represent the intermediate carbocations, that is two rapidly equilibrating carbocations as shown here as C and G, or it can be sigma bridged non-classical Norbornyl cation. So, you can see that the C and G, these are the classical carbocations you can represent, but if we take them in this form where it is as the sigma bridged, then these are the non-classical carbocation representation. The carbocation B is unconventional and unusual, and hence it is given the name of non-classical as against A, where there is a localized carbocation. So, here you can see there is a delocalization which is happening. The cation B is also spoken as split sigma bond, that is C1 to C6 bridged cation. Some call these delocalized structures as non-classical resonance. We will not enter into more discussions at this stage, because this will be dealt up in other modules which you are already familiar with, but we can sum up the main points like there appears to be small enchimeric assistance to the solvolysis of A from C1 to C6 bond at the transition state. This bond is just located at the back of the 2-exo position. The intermediate derived from this transition state is stabilized in comparison with localized carbonium ion by about 3 kilocalories per mole, which has been calculated from the rate of acetolysis of A and J. And this energy difference is too small to think of major reorganization of bonds. The non-classical Norbornyl carbocation has a plane of symmetry, you can notice this in the structure, passing through C4, C5 and C6 and the midpoint of C1 and C2, and therefore it is achiral. The achiral carbocation or symmetrical carbocation is expected to give a racemic acetate product, because both side attacks will give you the new chiral centers generating, the new chiral molecule generating, and thereby they will be mirror images of each other. Let us consider some examples of the carbocation rearrangements. We will begin with the simpler ones and go to then the cyclic and more complex ones. So, let us consider this example as shown here. You can see that here this alkyl halide is being reacted with methanol, and you can notice this is a rearranged product. Let us consider another example where this hydride shift is happening. As you can see in this case, as the Br is lost in the first step of SN1 when it is being reacted with methanol, there will be formation of this carbocation, and from this adjacent carbon this hydrogen will shift as hydride, and as a result we get this carbocation after rearrangement. This further will undergo another rearrangement where the alkyl shift is happening, and you can notice that this methyl shift will happen here, and we get this carbocation which is more stable here, which is tertiary. And now you can notice that this carbocation as well as this adjacent both are tertiary. So, it can flip between both of them, and both can undergo attack by the remaining nucleophile and give you the product. So, let us say it is further attacked by R1 or R2 group. So, if it is R1 is H for example, or R2 is OMe when it is reacted with methanol, or alternatively we can also get the product where R1 is OMe and R2 is H. Let us consider another example and know that carbocations are intermediates in SN1 reaction and quite often yield the rearranged product. The intermediate secondary carbocation formed rearranges to a tertiary carbocation. So, in this case, as you can see here, a 1,2 hydride shift will occur, which is leading to a more stable carbocation, and the resulting more stable carbocation will further react with methanol and an SN1 reaction is occurring. So, this substituted cyclohexane, you can see at this position you have Br, and at the adjacent relative second position there is a ethyl group, and when it is heated with methanol, the first step will be formation of carbocation after the removal of Br minus, and now notice at this adjacent carbon this H will migrate here and give you a more stable tertiary carbocation. If you are thinking that why not this carbon-carbon, the alkyl group happens like we have earlier discussed in the 4-membered, it will not happen here because this is already a 6-membered ring and stable. Because if this alkyl shift happens, it would lead to a 5-membered cyclic ring. So, that is not going to happen, rather it is the 1,2 hydride shift which will be happening, and it gives this more stable tertiary carbocation, which is further attacked by methanol as a nucleophile, and followed by deprotonation there will be formation of this substituted product. Then another example we can consider is the Wagner-Merwin rearrangement. Starting from this neopentyl bromide, when it is reacted with water in acetic acid, then slow hydrolysis happens and we get the rearranged product, where notice the Br has been replaced by OH, but not originally it was where it was there, but at a rearranged tertiary carbon. So, how this is taking place? The first step is the ionization, where the Br will be removed and the formation of carbocation, and because it is a primary carbocation being formed, it will be quite a slow process. And once this primary carbocation is formed, there will be methyl shift from this adjacent carbon, which is the 1,2 methyl shift, give you this tertiary carbocation, and then this tertiary carbocation will be attacked by water as nucleophile followed by deprotonation, and that is how you will be getting the corresponding product, which is the tertiary alcohol. And notice that here the neopentyl alcohol, that is without rearrangement, the Br getting replaced with OH, is not formed at all. Another example if we consider is the isobornyl alcohol. If we start from this isobornyl alcohol, and when it is treated with acid, it undergoes dehydration and there will be formation of the corresponding carbocation, the Norbornyl carbocation, which can rearrange to this particular position. Furthermore, there will be, this can be rewritten as this particular species, and the deprotonation can happen from this CH3, and what we get is this camphene. So, you can see this camphene is the rearranged product of dehydration from isobornyl alcohol, and not just straight away the dehydration and giving you the double bond at the position where the OH was originally there. Another interesting example involving the rearrangement is as shown here, and you will wonder how there are so many rearrangements which take place, and notice that all these rearrangements are taking place towards the formation of more stable cyclic systems. Let us consider another very interesting example where many rearrangements are taking place in a sequence. So, you can see here we are starting with a molecule which is highly strained. It is a 3-membered ring fused with a 4-membered and further with a 5-membered, and there is this double bond at this position. So, when this is reacted with HCl, the proton will attack on the double bond of this molecule, and as a result we get this secondary carbocation. And notice that at the nearby position there is a 4-membered ring which can go into expansion to give you a 5-membered ring with the carbocation now positioned at this carbon. And again to its vicinal position you can see this 3-membered ring, and there will be this alkyl shift again happening, and as a result this 3-membered ring goes into 4-membered, a more stable ring system, and we get the carbocation at this position. From here this hydride shift will happen and gives more stable carbocation rather than 4-membered, 5-membered cyclic ring, and the moment it reaches here, the adjacent position, this red bond from the cyclobutyl system will be moving and undergoing alkyl shift, and what we get is this 4-membered again goes to this 5-membered carbocation. Now again one more rearrangement happens where we get this carbocation, and from the nearby 5-membered, this red bond shown, these electrons will be moving here, and again a alkyl shift where now 5-membered ring is going into 6-membered ring, and eventually this will be attacked by Cl minus at this position, and we get this product where if you compare, as the starting molecule was highly strained, but now it is a combination of 5 and 6-membered rings. So, here you can see that all the rearrangements are happening in a way the molecule is relieving stress. More cyclic stable systems are getting formed. What we have learned in this module. Carbocation rearrangement is an important tool for organic reaction mechanism, and it is very important to understand how to carry out these rearrangements in order to justify the major products or the other byproducts which are getting formed via the rearrangement. The more substituents on the carbocation, the more stable the carbocation and faster it can form. A reaction will take path of the more stable carbocation intermediate and go to the regioselective product. If a carbocation can become more stable by rearrangement, rearrangement occurs involving either hydride shifts or alkyl shifts, but both of them, mind it, they are 1-2 shifts, and it can lead to ring expansions as well as ring contractions. If a carbocation can become more stable by rearrangement, rearrangement occurs involving hydride shifts, methyl shifts or alkyl shifts in general, and remember all these shifts are 1-2 shifts, and it can lead to ring expansions as well as ring contractions. Out of this the ring expansions are more common. And many of the features of 2-Norbornyl carbocation that we have studied in this module, it can be explained on the basis of 2 equilibrating, rearranging either classical carbocations or as sigma bridged non-classical carbocations, and we have seen how in one of the reaction where whether we start with the endo or exobrosylate of Norbornyl system, it will lead to the exo as the major product.